Okay, welcome to my new 40k show. I hope the sound and the video is okay. This is my first live stream, so yeah, let's hope it goes well. I think the setup's alright, but I can always perfect it, so any suggestions on how to make this better would be much appreciated. So, 10th edition is round the corner. I'm sure all of you are very eager to find out all of your army's rules, all of the core rules. At the moment, I feel like it's very, like, we've only seen a very small percentage, probably about 2% of what we actually really would like to see. So yeah, I'm eager to find out all the rules, any core rules that change. Obviously, we've been fed, I feel like GW feed you like half of the rules. You know, like they tell you a rule, but they only really tell you like half of it, or you're not quite sure how that interacts with other things that maybe... Okay, good. Thank you, Tom, for letting me know that the sound is good. So yeah, just... trying to they like tell you half the rules and you sort of don't really know how that interacts with certain other things, because obviously it's an intricate game. So what I want to do today is have a look at some of the... We're going to start off with Necrons because I'm a Necron player. So we're going to have a look at the rules and see how they interact, or see how compare them to 9th, and also this... bear in mind that we don't know all the rules yet. It's meant to be a less killy game. So let's go through and have a look at what the rules are like. So start off with reanimation protocols. So if your army faction is Necrons, at the end of your command phase, each unit from your army has the ability to basically reanimate D3 wounds each time such unit reanimates a wound. I don't feel like this is that clear, but I think we're all going off the fact that you roll a D3. If you're all got warriors, if you roll a 5 or 6 or a 3 on your D3, you're going to get 3 warriors back. If you roll a 2 and you've got a destroyer on 1 wound, it's going to go up to 3 wounds. So or if you've got 4 destroyers on 4 wounds and you've got 1 destroyer missing, you roll 2, he comes back to life with 2 wounds remaining. That's pretty much what I'm feeling this does. So it's sort of a mixture between the 8th edition reanimation protocols, because it happens in the command phase, and the 9th edition ones where you're sort of regaining more wound, and living metal, sorry. So living metal, you would regain a wound on things like characters and vehicles, and units. You regain 1 wound in your command phase, whereas now you're regaining the D3. So this is, I would say, a nerf to reanimation protocols with regards to like things like warriors. However, I have read ahead, and I know warriors get a slightly different reanimation protocol. But because you're not reanimating every time something shoots, it is a nerf in my opinion. However, we're meant to be entering a less killy edition, so therefore it could be much better. I mean, it's better for multi-wound models, because multi-wound models were really hard to get back, and it's better for vehicles, because vehicles were getting 1 wound back, where you've got a chance on average you're going to be getting 2 wounds a turn back, or maybe 3, you know, so it's a big buff for the vehicles. And yeah, we're gonna have to really see how killy this edition is and how this reanimation protocols is going to work, because I think that my feeling is that they're saying it's less killy, but when you've got stuff like Oath of Moment, where you're re-rolling all hits and all wounds, it's gonna be pretty devastating against 20 warriors, I think. But I mean, we'll go ahead and look at the warriors in a bit, but that's reanimation protocols, so we'll come back to that when we're talking in things later. Now, command protocols. Obviously, with command protocols before, they were like an extra army rule, and this seems to be part of the Awakened Dynasty. So I'm not sure if every sort of I mean, I don't know what the Awakened Dynasty is if that's like a Gaverets with that detachment. So you're going to have different detachments with different rules. So I'm not sure if they each have a command protocol, a different command protocol. We'll have to find out. But this one is, while a Necron character model is leading this unit, each time a model in this unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. Now, I feel that's going to be very, very useful because I know that now warriors are hitting on a 4+. So going down to a 3+ is massive. So basically, if you're taking 20 warriors, you're going to want to attach a character to it because it's going to be so much more useful. Well, if you're using the Awakened Dynasty, because we're not sure on the other ones, or if there are any other ones at the minute, because obviously we've got the codex coming out. It's one of the first 4 codexes. It said it's coming in the winter, so end of the year, basically, probably around October, November time. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out in that. But yeah, I mean, this isn't obviously the command protocols of old, but it's basically my will be done. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. Again, we don't know all the rules, so we don't know what else the characters are bringing, what other buffs the characters are bringing. Because if this is add 1 to hit roll, what are Overlords giving out? Because Overlords, that's what Overlords used to do. So are they going to give rerolls? Are they going to give something else? It's going to be interesting. Okay, so we have Druten Eternity Reaper. Oathful focus units down. The Chaos one will drop any extra healing. Yeah. I'm taking the Awakened Dynasty as the index play style and come to the codex. It will bring other tombs, e.g. Slumber and Fallen, etc. Okay. So it'll be so there's going to be extra dynasties, so it'll be interesting to see. Okay, so we'll move down onto the monolith. So we have the full data sheet. So movement 7 doesn't move very far considering it's basically got a 6-inch base, so not the best there. Like 7-inch movement, it's going to move 1 inch further than its base. At least it has the fly keyword, so it can actually move over terrain, maybe land on terrain. I don't know. Well, it would have to be able to place itself. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a very big hindrance, I feel. However, at toughness 14 with a 2-up save, I mean, that is big. 20 wounds. Toughness 14, that means las cannons are going to be wounding on 5s and 6s. 2-up save, I mean, with the 2-up save, that means that anything is... Most of the things I've found that are auto-wounded on 6s are usually very low AP, either AP1 or AP0. So hopefully you'll be ignoring most of that chip damage as well. Leadership 7+, we'll get to leadership later. And OC8, which Objective Control 8 is very, very good. So glad to see that. You have the Eternity Gate, so you can teleport Necron infantry units to you, which I think will be really, really nice. You can't charge, so it's only really good for like the shooting or teleporting onto objectives. And if these are like big tanky things, like I think they might be, that are very hard to kill, then you can sort of move them forward and then just start teleporting troops out of them. It would be really cool. Like, I'd love to see that. I'd love to play that way if you can. It's just whether you can move these models around and how far you can actually get them up the field. They do have a sort of damage table. So if you go under 7 wounds, your objective control goes down, cuts by half, and you subtract 1 from the hit roll. So they do hit on 3s, which is nice, unless it's in combat and they hit on 2s, because, you know, the Portal of Exile is pretty brutal. 6 attacks, strength 8, -2, 3 damage. Pretty good in combat. Okay, yeah, that's a very good point. Drew Tavian, Eternity Reaper. Eternity Gate can be useful to pull units out of combat and give them time to heal. Very good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. So you could basically put something, you basically veiling it. You're teleporting it out of combat and then to the monolith. You let it heal up. And then, I'm not sure if you'll be able to shoot. We'd have to look at the rules. Obviously, in 9th with a veil, you could veil out of combat and then you'd be able to shoot. So I'm not sure if that's going to change in 10th, but really good point there. Then we have the Particle Whip, which has Blast and Devastating Wounds. So Devastating Wounds is the mortal wound output on a wound roll of a 6. And Blast is obviously more shots if you're shooting at bigger units. So 3d6, 3 plus strength 8, -1, 2 damage. That is a nice profile. Good for killing marines, things like that. Okay, it does say units can still shoot but not charge, but I was just wondering if that would be the same as 9th edition in terms of if you're pulling them out of combat, do they count as falling back? Or will it? Do you think it will be the same as 9th where it's they'll still be able to shoot? Interesting question. Obviously, I haven't seen the rules that in depth to know. But if it's like 9th, then you're completely right. Yeah, they will be able to shoot. Then we have the Gauss Flux Arc, which is lethal hits, rapid fire 3. Lethal hits means that they get it's auto wounds on a hit roll of a 6. And this is 3 attacks, but it will be 6 in half range. 3 plus, strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage. Yeah, Gauss Flux Arc looks nice. Again, good for killing infantry. Looks like you could end up with a lot of shots. Considering you've got 4 of those on a monolith, you could end up with 24 shots with auto wounded on 6s. You know, -1. -1 is like the new -2 because everything's dropped in AP. So yeah, really, really like that. And then the Death Ray, which has sustained hits D3. So that means on every hit roll of a 6, you get D3 extra shots, which is very nice. I mean, you're only getting 4 shots total with the 4 Death Rays. So it won't, on average, won't happen every time you shoot, but every 2 times you shoot, it will. So, yeah, that could be very nice. And these are hitting on a 3 plus, strength 12, which is a nice amount of strength, -4, which is a good amount of AP, it seems, in this edition, because as we know, AP is going down. And then we have D6 +1 damage, which I think is probably going to be pretty reliable. From the damage that we've seen, this is like las cannon damage and things like that. I think the days of D3 +3 are going to be rare. At least in the index anyway, in these index cards where everyone's resetting. Maybe as the codexes come out, they might start ramping up the damage and things like that, because you know that GW love a bit of codex creep. Okay, so my feelings on the monolith is that I think depending on the points and depending on what everyone else's damage and strength of weapons is like, if T14 is with a 2-up save is as good as I think it could be, then monoliths might actually be worth taking, especially with this rule for the Eternity Gate. And like Drutavian said, being able to pull units out of combat could be absolutely vital. So yeah, they could be really, really good. Just a little talk on the keywords. Obviously, I see keywords sometimes pop up. So we've got vehicle, Titanic, fly, towering. I'm gathering towering is just like the new Titanic. It means you can be shot through ruins, I believe. And then monolith. They have deadly demise D6, which I believe is D6 mortal wounds if they blow up, and they have the deep strike rule. So you can still bring monoliths in from deep strike. Don't feel like it's ever been a great ploy, because usually people move up and then you've got nowhere to fit it apart from in your deployment zone. Might be good if you think you might go second. You want to keep it alive if you feel like you're against guard and they've got like 1 million guns and you're not going to survive. So it could be good there. Okay, on to the Necron Warriors. Now, this data sheet I was a little bit apprehensive about. my heart sunk a little bit when I saw this data sheet. I was a little bit worried. I feel like it's been nerfed a lot. Like the Warriors have been nerfed a lot. I know it's a new edition and everything's, I think, getting a little bit worse, which is fine. It's just, it's very hard to tell how good they're going to be without knowing what all of the characters do, knowing what some of the other army rules do, and things like that. And we're going to get onto leadership in a minute. So, movement 5, same as they were before. We expect them to be slow. They're Necrons. We're meant to be slow and durable. So T4, 4 up save, exactly the same as they were in 9th, 1 wound. Leadership 7, it's worse than Space Marines, which is odd. I'm assuming maybe with characters that leadership goes to like 4+ or something. Maybe if you have a character unit attached to that, which should still be sad for some of the other stuff, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. And then we have OC2. So if you've got 20 Necron warriors on an objective, you're going to have a objective control of 40, which will be pretty good. So the Gauss Flayer. The Gauss Flayer is exactly the same as it was in 9th, apart from it's 0 AP now. But we do get lethal hits, so you're auto-wounding on 6s, which is nice for Gauss. I feel like it should be, although they're throwing out lethal hits to everything, it seems like it's going out of fashion. It seems every faction's got a lot of lethal hits in their army. So, yeah, I mean, they've lost a bit of AP, but anything with a 3+ save or better doesn't get cover against it. So, as in the cover doesn't work against their AP, so it could be alright. I'm not expecting to do too much damage to these. I'm hoping there's something that makes them really durable, so we can just move them up onto objectives. And then with their number is Legion rule, each time this unit's reanimation protocols activate, it reanimates D6 wounds instead of D3 wounds. Unless it is within range of an objective marker you control, in which case it reanimates D3 plus 3 wounds, which is really reliable reanimation and great, as long as they're durable. Because if they're not durable enough, with a 4 up save, you know, you're getting shot with something that's just even -1. You're on a 5 up save, T4, like, you know, yeah, multiple units are going to shoot at you to kill you, but I don't think it would take that much. And I'm worried, unless there's some durability coming in from other rules, maybe character rules, maybe the reanimator, stuff like that. I'm hoping that that does come in and we're not so easily killed in one go, because otherwise we're never going to get to use that reanimation protocol, which was the problem in 8th. The big problem in 8th was, and 8th was a lot more killy than I think what they're saying in this edition, but that was a huge problem, that we were going to end up, you never get to use your army-wide rule. Whereas something like Oath of Moment, where you're re-rolling all hits and all wounds, and you're picking a unit in your command phase, you're going to get to use, regardless of what's dead and what's not. And that is all. That's been the big problem, I think, since 8th edition with the Necron reanimation protocols, is like, do you get to use it? Maybe, maybe not. But we will see. We will see where they go with that. So, back to the weapons. Gauss Reaper. Again, it's got lethal hits. It's not assault anymore, though. So, you are stuck to that 12-inch range, 5-inch move. So, your threat range is 17 inches. It's not massive. I mean, I know the boards are smaller, which is better. I think if you're going to be kitting up with Gauss Reaper, then you're going to want to start taking stuff like Monoliths, maybe Ghost Arcs. Drutavian, I'm taking it that GW have nerfed warriors to make them a cheap chaff unit that's only there to be a sponge. I mean, that's great if they are cheap enough. Because if they are cheap enough, then it doesn't matter so much if they do die. And if they don't die and then you're just reanimating them, they're really annoying. And that could be a very good point. Drutavian definitely feels attacks to boost them up to previous editions. Yeah, I think that you're gonna have to take characters with them to make them worth taking. So maybe then you can either take them as like cheap hopefully, if they're cheap enough, you can take them as like real cheap chaff units, or you can take them as sort of buffed up with characters and maybe a reanimator and something else like that, and then they're sort of, you've paid the points for it, but they're actually a pretty good unit and they've got more rules to them. And then in combat they are worse than they were before, but it's only because the weapon skill is 4+, so 1 attack, strength 4, 0p, 1 damage. Yeah, nothing overly exciting about the Necron Warriors, I don't think, at the minute, but let's hope that there is. And the leadership has baffled me in terms of Necrons. Like, that bit, there's got to be a rule or something that makes them better on leadership, because that's like, it's like their thing. Like, they're not meant to be scared because they're like soulless. I know the characters aren't, but the warriors are like soulless bots. Just, they're almost zombies, the same as like a poxwalker. They're just moving in, and then if they get told to do something, they do it, and if they get told to retreat, they do. So maybe the leadership is then from the character, because the character gets scared and then tells them they've got to retreat. I don't know, maybe. But Battle Shock doesn't really make sense for them. Okay, let's move on. A weapon spotlight. The Doomsday Cannon. Now, if you've watched any of my battle reports, you'll know I'm a big fan of the Doomsday arcs. I've often run 3. 2 sometimes, but mainly 3, because they were so unreliable. If you weren't running at least 3, it wasn't worth it, because you wanted one of them to go off. And in the past, they usually either really overkilled something or just done nothing. So let's have a look at this new profile. Now, I'm gathering the flayers on the side will be exactly the same, so it'll be the same as having like 10 Necron Warriors. I'm not sure if there'll be 4 up ballistic skill or 3 up. It'll be interesting to see if they do change that for the Doomsday arc. So 72-inch range. We kept the range. Woohoo! D6 plus 1 shots at last. Just a tiny bit of reliability on that shot. So when you roll a 1, you're at least getting 2 shots. But on average, you'll be getting like 4 to 5 shots. 4 shots on average, which will be so much better. Then we have ballistic skill 3, but it's heavy, so if we stay still, we'll be hitting on 2s. So it's a buff if you stay still, rather than getting absolutely like punished for moving. So much better. Then we have strength 15, so this is brilliant. That means that we're wounding, I think the highest toughness is 14, I'm aware of. I mean, the monolith should be one of the toughest things in the game, so 14 toughness, fantastic. That means that we're wounding things at a T14, which they should. It's a big cannon, doomsday, death, strength 15. -4, so we've lost one on the AP, but I think that's fine, because we're still, things with a 3 up ballistic skill are still, we're still going over their save, so they still won't get a save, and then 2 ups will get a 6 up save. I think that's absolutely fine. Makes this really, really lethal. Drutavian, love the glow up to Doomsday, the DDA gained. Hope the points are reasonable. yeah. So this is the thing. We'll get onto the points in a minute. So -4, and it's 4 damage, reliable damage. Like, I've been asking this for 2 editions. Just some reliable damage on the Doomsday arcs. Fantastic. So, in your movement phase, if this model remains stationary until the end of the turn, its Doomsday Cannon has the Devastating Wounds ability. So that means that if you stay still, you're hitting on a 2+, brilliant, and then if you roll a 6 to wound, they're going to be straight mortals, so 4 mortal wounds. So this is fantastic against anything, because you don't get a save, but also if you're shooting at something like, I don't know, some Space Marines, where, you know, 4 damage is killing 1 Space Marine. Well, if you get 4 mortals, it's killing 2 Space Marines, because it will spill over. So really good. Now, the points. So the thing is, we know nothing about this apart from that one gun. So we don't know. Oh, it's also blast as well, this gun. So if you're shooting at a lot of models, it gets more shots. we don't know the defensive capabilities. Now, obviously, in 9th, it was really nice with quantum shielding. We had can't be wounded a 1, 2, or 3, and it had a 5-up invuln. It was really durable, and we could then make that 4-up invuln with a strat. One of the best things about them was their durability. Now, obviously, things are getting less killy, so maybe our durability won't be as good on this. Maybe there'll be a bit more of a glass cannon. I'm not expecting the toughness to be too high. They were toughness 6. So maybe if they go to like T8, T9, somewhere around that. And then maybe just have some little extra something with the like, I just want them to be different. I don't want it just to be, oh yes, T9 with a 3-up save and there's, you know, a 5-up invuln. Like, I want quantum shielding to have character, to mean that it's something different, you know, like that it means something, you know, it means something, that it's a Doomsday Arc, that it's Necron tech, that it's got character, it's got flavour, you know. That's what I want. I want a bit of flavour. Points wise, I mean, who knows? I mean, we don't really know the points of anything at the minute, so I'm sure that they've mapped it out, hopefully, and play tested, and they're going to give it an appropriate points. The same as the monolith, you know. There's no point in making all of these vehicles and everything else absolutely amazing, and then we don't get any, and then they're so expensive that we can't use them. Okay, next up, the Void Dragon. So Void Dragon is a very cool model. I really like it. I have it myself. So we have 5 attacks, weapon skill 2, that's what we expect. Strength 12, which is very nice. AP 3 and D6 plus 2 damage. So quite reliable damage there. Anti-vehicle 2 plus, that means we're wounding vehicles on 2s. What I do like about this, strength 12, we're still wounding toughness 6 things. So let's say Gravis armor, Terminators, who are toughness 5, we're still wounding them on 2s with a high amount of damage, which is really nice. Then we have the sweep, which is 10 attacks, 3 plus weapon skill, strength 8, minus 1, 2 damage. So, you know, great little sort of marine killer, infantry killer. Only AP 1, but still, hopefully with the 10 attacks hitting on 3s. Don't know why they've made that. I suppose if you're sweeping, you're less accurate. So with a strike, you're more accurate, and with a sweep, it will be less accurate. So you're on a 3 plus. Be interesting to see if they keep that going with all of the other things, like, you know, Mortarion. He's always had a sweep attack. It'll be interesting if his sweep attack hits less. It would make sense. I think it's quite cool. So we have a stratagem, which is a protocol of the Hungry Void. Ah, protocols been turned into stratagems. So when is the fight phase? That's when you play it. 1 Necron unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Effect: until the end of the phase, add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in your unit, which could be very nice depending on what you're going up against. In addition, if a Necron character is leading your unit, until the end of the phase, improve your armor penetration characteristic of the weapons in your unit by 1. So this could be really good. Say if you've got a big unit of flayed ones that have got a character on it, you're getting extra AP. I mean, we don't know what flayed one's AP is. I'm assuming it's probably going to be 0. So you might get an extra AP on that. That's turn them to AP 1 could be massive, and their strength. I'm assuming they'll probably be strength 4. So I'm assuming they'll get something like sustained hits. So you explode in 6s like they had in 9th. So then the extra strength go to strength 5, could be really good for volume against you know, any sort of like gaunts, marines, any sort of infantry troop unit. Also could be really nice with the Scorpek. Say we don't know what the Scorpek Lord is like, but I'm hoping he's better than 9th. And if you're attaching him to a load of Scorpek destroyers, suddenly they're getting an extra strength, they're getting extra AP. That could be huge depending on what their profile is. So really, really nice there. Could be a great strat for combat. So they've basically said that they're talking about they want the characters to be the main theme, like command protocols and the characters are there for the main theme of the Awakened Legions detachment. So they sort of want it to be this moving slowly up the board, but durable. So hopefully they do make them that durable where we really feel like Necrons are Necrons, you know. You get killed, you get back up. What I don't want to see is just unit getting wiped, unit getting wiped, unit getting wiped, and you're like, okay, I've never used my rule. But really interesting. I believe that we have just come in hot off the press. There is some Astra Militarum rules. So shall we go and have a look? Here we go. Okay. Jutavian, with them saying leaders are the front Necrons, it would have been nice to see one. Yeah, I totally agree. It would have been nice to see some rules for one of the leaders, whether it was the Overlord or the Chronomancer or the Technomancer. Would have been great to see some rules. Like, real shame. Okay, let's have a look at the Astra Militarum as it's just dropped. The Hammer of the Emperor. So the appearing is mind-bogglingly vast, under constant attack from unknowable terrors within and without. Okay. We've got a nice little picture of the Militarum against the Tyranids. Okay, faction rules. They might be expendable mortals thrown into hellish war zones with little more than a lasgun and a prayer, but the Imperial Guard have one thing that makes them the envy of foul aliens and vile heretics the galaxy over. A highly skilled, much loved, and totally meteocratic officer class. Okay, voice of command. If your army faction is Astra Militarum, in your command phase, the officer models in your army with this ability can issue orders. Each officer datasheet will specify how many orders it can issue and which units are eligible to receive those orders. Each time an officer model issues an order, select one of the orders below, then select one eligible friendly unit within 6 inches of that officer model to issue it to. Until the start of your command phase, the unit you selected is affected by that order. Unless otherwise stated, a unit can only be affected by one order at a time. Any order subsequently issued to that unit replaces the current one. Okay, so you can't stack orders. If a unit being affected by an order becomes battle shocked, the order ceases to affect that unit. I tell you what, battle shock I think is going to be really big in this edition, and I'm actually quite happy about it because I feel like morale again wasn't a big enough thing in 9th edition. Purely for armies such as like Night Lords and things like that, who I think should really be affecting leadership. There was too much stuff that just morale. Sorry, there's too much stuff that just ignored it, and then Night Lords felt a bit like, you know, they got most things they're going up against. They're not really doing anything to. But as we've seen, there will definitely be affecting Necrons if we're stuck at leadership 7. So hope not. Okay, unit is. Move. Add 3 inches to the move characteristic of models in this unit. Very nice. Obviously we don't know what their move characteristic is at the moment, but and is this just? It doesn't say what this affects. I'm assuming infantry in a minute, but maybe it's everything because an extra 3 inches on a tank could be massive. Fixed bayonets. Improve the weapon skill characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in this unit by 1. Again, I mean, that could be huge. Probably will be. Improve ballistic skill of range equipped by models. Improve ballistic skill by 1 again. Could be huge. Improve the attacks characteristic of rapid fire weapons equipped by this model unit by 1. Again, could be really big. You get in half range, suddenly you're rapid fire 1, you go to rapid fire 2, 3 shots instead of 2. You're sticking out some DACA, you know. Improve the save characteristics models unit by 1. It can't be improved by better than a 3+. Improve the leadership and objective control characteristics of models in this unit by 1. So some really nice buffs there, I think. Okay, Cadian shock troops. Wow, that's some really small text. Are these just the normal humble guardsmen is beaten astronaut? Yeah, so these are like your average Cadian troops. So for every 10 models in this unit, 2 shock troopers can each have their lasgun replaced with one of the following: flamer, grenade launcher, melter gun, plasma gun. For every 10 models in this unit, 1 shock trooper equipped with a lasgun can be equipped with 1 voxcaster. Any number of shock trooper sergeants can each have their las pistols replaced with a bolt pistol. Any number of shock trooper sergeants each have their las pistol and chainsword replaced with 1 drum-fed auto gun and 1 combat weapon. Okay. You cannot select the same weapon more than once per unit unless it contains 20 models, in which case, so you can have units of 20 guardsmen. Okay. Interesting. I feel like when you have very certain units, if you don't control how much you can buff them when you make them big units, like units of 20, it then becomes very easy to make them broken. But let's hope they've restricted it well enough that they're not going to be like 5 points guardsmen that end up as good as Space Marines, because with a couple of buffs. Okay. So, movement 6. Toughness 3 is what we expect. A 5-up save, again, what we expect. Wounds 1. And leadership 7. And objective control 2. So pretty good on the objective control, same as, which I suppose you expect from troops. Okay, so bolt pistol, strength 4, yeah, 0 AP, 1 damage. Drum fed auto gun. There's all ballistic skill 4 at the minute, so pretty good ballistic skill, to be honest. As in, same as the Necrons. And they can get +1 to that for an order. So that's quite nice. So they could be quite hitting on freeze, same as Necrons. Strength 3 on the auto gun, 0, 1 damage. Flamer ignores cover and torrent. Again, strength 4, 0 and 1 damage. All hitting on 4s. Grenade launcher. Oh, crap, grenade launcher. Strength 9, -2 D3 damage. That's nice. What's the las gun? Rapid fire 1. Yeah, that's what we expect. Strength 3, 0 AP, 1 damage. Hasn't... I can see they don't have the lethal hits rule. Which is, I think, a good thing. Las pistol, melter gun. Melter 2. So 12-inch range, 1 attack, 4+, strength 9, AP 4, D6 damage. But if you're in half range, you get the extra 2 on that. Any given Sunday Wargamer. I like this. They used to be able to join together in 5th. I think it was... means anyone with more than 60 dudes can still use them. In 7th, he means. Okay. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I just think that it should be controlled. You know, it should be restricted, because if you have big units and then if you can then make them units too good, it ends up being that with buffs, because if you buffed 10-man unit, it's very different to buffing a 20-man unit, you know. So depending on how many, I know you can only put 1 order on them, but depending on other buffs like stratagems and things like that, it means that a very cheap unit can then suddenly become devastating. And I think that's where the problem is with big units, you know. Like, for instance, Necrons, I think in 9th, they weren't very devastating because there wasn't that much you could do to them apart from make them more durable. You couldn't really make them more killy. But yeah, I've got no problem with 20-man units as long as they're restricted in the right way. Then we have a plasma gun. So, interesting. So, 4-up ballistic skills we saw. So, strength 7, -2, 1 damage. I think the plasma gun's gone down in AP. Is that right? Am I wrong? Am I right? Someone let me know. Plasma gun, -2. Is it not standard -3 and then goes to -4? Or am I thinking about the Hellblasters? And then plasma gun supercharge, which has hazardous, which means 1s will be mortal wounds, the same as it was in fast, and they're rapid fire. Strength 8, -3, 2 damage. Very nice. Okay. Chainsword. Melee, 3 attacks with a chainsword. I'll give us the sergeant. I think it's just the sergeant, yeah. Weapon skill 4+, strength 3, 0 AP, 1 damage. So the chainsword doesn't get any AP when you're a guardsman, which quite rightly so. Okay, so it was -3 when it was strength 7 on the non-supercharged. So it has lost a pip of AP. Am I right? Any given Sunday Wargaming? Just let me know. And then attacks 1, 4+, strength 3, 0 AP, 1 damage for the close combat weapon. Okay, so nice. Ooh, the Baneblade. Let's see what the big guns do, shall we? So movement 9, so not huge on the movement, but cool. It's a massive tank, so I think, you know, it shouldn't be screaming across. Yeah, so it was -3, so it has lost a pip of AP, so interesting. So movement 9 on the Baneblade, toughness 13. Okay, I was expecting it to be toughness 14. I really was. Interesting. Very interesting. I wonder how many strength 14 weapons there are where that's going to actually make a difference. And will it make a difference? It will make a difference again with strength 7 weapons, because strength 7 weapons will be woundiness on a 5 rather than a 6. So very interesting. 2-up save, which I expected. You know, good old armor. 24 wounds, so 4 wounds more than the monolith. Leadership 7, same as the monolith. And OC 8. What was the leadership? Oh, leadership 7, it was of shock troops as well. So the Necron warriors have got the same leadership as a guardsman. There's got to be something wrong there, surely. Someone's made a mistake. They've got to have made a mistake. Someone. Anyone. Tell me they've made a mistake. OC 8, which is the same as the monolith, which is great. It's a big tank. Good objective control. So the Baneblade cannon, which is blast, 72-inch range, nice range. 3d6 shots. Ballistic skill 4. Strength 12, -2, 3 damage. Oh, hang on. I just wanted to look at the abilities, sorry, on the shock troopers. At the end of your command phase, if this unit is within range of objective marker you control, that objective marker remains under your control, even if you have no models within range of it until your opponent controls at the end of any turn. Really nice. So they get sticky objectives. And then the Voxcaster, each time you target the bearer's unit with a stratagem, roll 1d6, adding 1 to the result if these are 1 or more friendly officer models within 6 inches. On a 5+, you gain 1 CP. Really nice. So real nice abilities on the shock troopers there, on the Cadian shock troopers. Yeah, so leadership 7 is a 50% to pass or fail, Drutavian saying. So yeah, I mean, that's so odd that warriors, Necron warriors, are the same as shock troopers. So back to the Baneblade battle cannon. Yeah, so strength 12 -2, 3 damage. That's a lot of shots. Not super high on the AP or damage, but that's going to dish out a lot of shots. Coaxial autocannon, 48-inch range, 2 shots. Strength 9 -1, 3 damage. Okay. Demolisher cannon, which is blast as well. D6 +3, 24-inch range. Strength 14 -3, D6 damage. Okay, I was expecting like a D6 +1, but it is a lot of shots. D6 plus. So they've given them reliability on the amount of shots, and less reliability on the damage. Okay, fair enough. It is -3 in strength 14, so it's quite nice. Heavy stubber, which is rapid fire 1, 36-inch range. Strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage. Yeah, okay. Las cannon. So 1 attack. Strength 4, strength 12, -3, D6 +1. Okay, we've seen that profile before. Heavy bolter, which is sustained hits 1. So you'll get an extra exploding shot. And twin linked, which means you'll re-roll the wound roll. So attacks 3, ballistic skill 4, strength 5 -1, 2 damage. And then twin heavy flamer, which has ignores cover, torrent, and twin linked. Wow. So that means it's going to be re-rolling the wounds, auto-hitting. That's good. Strength 5, -1, 1 damage, D6 shots. That's real nice. Any given Sunday, do you think they will actually be hitting on 4+ for the first time ever? Maybe. Or they'll get... I suppose there'll be tank commanders that will probably be able to give Baneblades orders and get them to hit on 3+. Armored tracks. So we have 6 attacks, weapon skill 4, strength 8, 0 AP, 1 damage. I will say it does seem that they are making vehicles better in combat than they have in the last edition, which I quite like. It's not anything amazing, but it's like you should be able to run someone over. It should be all right. The weapon skill 6 was always just a bit like, oh, this is not going to do anything, and this is a big vehicle. At least I can hit something with it. Okay, Rolling Fortress. Each time a ranged attack is allocated to an Astra Militarum model from your army, if that model is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of this Baneblade model, that model has the benefit of cover against that attack. Okay, I like that. You can use the Baneblade as cover for your infantry moving up. That's really cool. I like that a lot. So each time a ranged attack is allocated to a model, if that model is not... Okay, so it's model. So if I can clearly see one model with my whole unit, you won't get cover. But if I can't see, if not every model in my unit can see... Okay, yeah, I like it. Using hide behind tanks, I think that's it's very flavourful. I like it. It does lose 4 from the objective control, the same as Monolith once he gets below 8 wounds. And he has to subtract 1 from the hit roll once he gets below 8 wounds. Yeah, I think it's really cool about the Baneblade. I think that's a real nice flavour. Okay, weapon spotlight. The rhythm of an Imperial assault is the constant dull thud of battle cannons firing up and down the line. As Lehman Russ battle tanks lob shells into enemy positions, these hefty guns have always been a great all-round weapon. Everyone loves a battle cannon, don't they? Okay, so 48-inch range, which I think is the same as before. D6 plus 3 shots. Can anyone tell me what the shots were before? Was it D3 plus 3 or was it D6 plus 3 the same as... Is that the same now? Ballistic skill 4+. Strength 10, which is... I know there was strength 8 before, but with all the toughness going up, seems like it would be about the same. You know, you're still wounding a Rhino on a 3, which is nice. But you're not wounding the big tanks. That would be 5s and 6s on the big tanks like Land Raiders and stuff like that. AP 1. I'm sure their AP was 3. Weren't they AP 3 before? Someone let me know in the chat. But strength 10, AP 1, 3 damage. So great Terminator killers. Well, no they're not because they're AP 1. So you're going to be on a 3-up save. Alright Terminator killers. Good Marine killers. Maybe good Gravis. If Gravis is still a 3+ save. Good Gravis killers maybe. Yeah, interesting. Not amazing. I'm assuming you've got a way to get better than a 4+ to hit as well. But D6 plus 3. So same as that. The relic was D3 plus 6. 2 and 3 on the relic. Okay. AP 2 and 3 in the relic. Okay. Yeah, even this battle cannon looks a little more than a pea shooter next to the true king of battlefield firepower, the volcano cannon. Okay, this is on the shadow sword. So this is the one that was, from my memory, was strength 18, I believe. So 96-inch range, 20 D3 plus 1 attack. So on average 3 shots. Ballistic skill 4+. This is blast and heavy, so it will get... Oh, what was the battle cannon? Battle cannon was just blast. So this will get a +1 to hit. So this will go to a 3+ if it remains stationary. Strength 24. Strength 24. So it's wounding Land Raiders on a 2. Okay. And it's AP 5, so that's putting anything... I mean, nothing's getting a save against that unless you can get cover. You can get a cover save on a 2+. You'll then be getting a 6+ save. I mean, we don't know if there's pluses to save from buffs or anything like that, but I mean, it from what we're seeing, it doesn't ignore invuns, which is nice. So if you've got an invun save, you'll be getting an invun save. But I think like this will punish marine vehicles. 12 damage. That is the most reliable damage I think we've seen so far. This is insane. This is nuts. This is a nuts gun. But I'm assuming it's a Shadow Sword. The Shadow Sword's an expensive old tank. We don't really know the defensive capabilities of the Shadow Sword. Although the defensive will be the same as the Baneblade, I'm assuming. Because isn't it the same chassis, just a different tank? So it will be toughness 13, 2+ save with 24 wounds. And it only degrades at 8 wounds. So yeah. That is... Hello, Dan. Yeah, that damage output is crazy. Whew. So let's say on average you get 3 shots. If you're hitting on 3s, 2 hits, you're probably wounding both times. So you're probably on average getting 1 through if there's an invuln. If not, there's probably 2 going through. So that could be like between 12 and 24 damage to most things in the game. Yeah. Pretty good. But, like I say, on a big tank. Drutavian, yeah. I would say it's going to be a hefty chunk of points. Yeah, I mean... we have no idea how the points work. I mean, I don't think anything's been given points to even be able to, not even anything small. So yes, Dan, it's not the only gun on it. Yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, it's got las cannons and other things as well. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty hefty, I should imagine. And if your army doesn't have a way of taking it out, it could be a huge problem. At toughness 13, 2+ save. If you haven't got the AP and the reliability and damage, and that has the reliability and damage, it has the AP, and it has the range, and the strength, it's gonna cause some problems. Okay, stratagem spotlight. Reinforcement when things get a bit dicey. So reinforcements, when any phase target 1 regiment unit from your army that was just destroyed, you can use this stratagem on that unit even though it was just destroyed. Add a new unit to your army identical to your destroyed unit in strategic reserves at its starting strength with all of its wounds remaining. Huh? This stratagem cannot be used to return destroyed character units to attached units. So it's only regiment units, but you can basically do... I mean, we don't know all the stratagems of the game. Next ones might have this stratagem too, maybe. But for 2 CP, you can bring back a 20-man unit after it's destroyed to its full strength. Isn't this like Green Tide? Isn't that what that used to be? Although that used to have more restrictions to that. You used to have to... There used to be certain things. You had to be under half strength and you could bring it back to full strength. I mean, for 0 points, I mean, I don't know how much a unit of guardsmen costs, but let's say they're 5 points a guy, a 20-man unit. Someone do the maths. So that's 80 points. You just get a free 80 points for 2 CP. It doesn't even say it's a one-use stratagem. The restriction is you can't use it on a character to attach to the unit. So if the unit had a character attached to it, you can't bring the character back as well. Seems pretty good. I mean, it's only 80 points, but if you're bringing them back, it doesn't really say where you bring. Add a new unit to... Oh, it goes into strategic reserves, so then you have to bring it in from strategic reserves. But it's still very, very nice. Really, really like that stratagem for Militarum. I'm glad it's not usable on tanks. I'm assuming that's not usable on tanks. Someone let me know. It's the old cultist strat, which never caused any issue ever. I promise. I feel like there's some sarcasm coming there. Yeah, seems pretty good. Who knows? Who knows? What sorts of units have the regiment keyword, you ask? Your core infantry squads, of course, but also the big guns. Also the big guns of heavy weapon squads and field ordnance batteries, elites like Tempestus Scions, even fast-moving Rough Riders and Sentinel teams. Okay, so you could have a big... I mean, we don't know what Rough Riders are like in this edition, but you could have a big unit of Rough Riders or Sentinels, and you can bring them all back. A full unit. I mean, this means you must be able to target characters. No, Dan, I think it means that if the whole unit and the characters that was attached to it is destroyed, you can only bring the unit back, not the character back with it. Look at the Cadian datasheet. They reduce AP cost by refunding 1. Oh, so you could do this. Oh, yeah. Each time its target bearer's unit with stratagem, roll 1d6, adding 1 to the result if there are 1 or more friendly officer models within that. So on a 6+, you could gain a CP back because the officer model won't be in it because it will be destroyed. Yeah, so they're going to be able to... Oh, went too far. So they're going to be able to get CP back. Any given Sunday. Infinite mortars. Yay! So you can just keep bringing mortars back. But you can just keep bringing... Because it's not once use. It doesn't even say you can only use this on each unit once. You can just keep using this as long as you've got CP. You're like, oh, heavy weapons squad, I'll bring that mortar team back. Oh, you've killed the sentinels. Okay, we'll bring the sentinels back. Oh, you've killed my unit of rough riders in combat. We'll bring them back. That seems pretty nice. Yeah, if the unit has a Voxcaster. But if it's dead, does it count? Does it count... If it's a dead unit, does it count as having a Voxcaster? But you are using it on that unit, so it does say that. So I'm assuming, yeah, you'll be able to roll a 6 and get a CP back. The only restriction, a unit's got to be destroyed and a regiment. Yeah. This seems super strong. I mean, I don't know how many sentinels you can take. I think 2 in a team. Or like a field ordnance batteries. I don't know how many you can take. Maybe 2. But that could be like 200 points. Harley... Good strat, but 2 CP. I think they said CP will be hard to get this edition. Yeah, but like Drutavian said, they've got ways of farming CP back via the Foxcaster. So it might not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm assuming they're not going to be using it like twice eternal game. Like I'm sure it's going to be a lot harder with CP than that, but. Still seems like a really nice strat. Maybe the CP is so restricted that you'll be able to use it like a maximum of like 3 times per game if you spend CP on nothing else. But still seems pretty good. Could come in clutch, you know. But yeah, I think the Volcano Cannon seems like the winner in terms of damage output. And what are your guys' thoughts, obviously in the chat or the comments, about the battle cannon? I feel like it's alright. It's not seeming like... I mean, you'll get an average of 6 shots. Hitting on 4s. If they do hit on 4s, I mean, I'm assuming there's ways that you get pluses to hit. Regiment is just infantry at the moment, I think. No, it says below, regiment... What sort of units have the regiment keyword, you ask? Your core infantry squads, of course, but also the big guns of heavy weapon squads, field ordnance batteries, Tempestos Scions, Rough Riders, and Sentinel teams. So they can use that on all of those. So yeah, quite good. But yeah, what do you think about the battle cannon? What are you guys thinking? Do you think it's decent? you think? I mean, AP1 hitting on 4s. I'm assuming they'll have ways to hit better. I'm assuming the tanks will be able to give out orders. Drutavian, you gain 1 CP each command phase. Depending on the playstyle, you can gain extra CP for discarding missions. Oh yeah, for discarding mission cards you can gain CP. And each army seems to have a way of gaining CP. Yeah. Any given Sunday. Okay. Oh god. Yes. Oh god indeed. To bring in all that stuff back. Yes, seems a bit meh. You're talking about the battle cannon. Yes, I agree. Like, it seems alright, but the way they've said about, like, oh, battle cannons firing up and down the line, but then they'll probably be quite cheap, so you'll be able to have a lot of them, maybe. A great all-round gun. I think if it had been AP2, it would have been really good. I think AP1, it's a bit like, don't know, but if there's enough of them with enough shots, and there may, that's the other thing, we don't know if there's ways to increase AP, we don't know if there's ways to make their ballistic skill better. From the orders, I'm assuming tank commanders can make their ballistic skill better. Can they give that out to multiple units with some sort of upgrade? You know, give it to 3 tanks instead of 1, so they're all hitting on 3s. It's interesting. Drutavian, it's an okay gun. The voice of command gives +1 ballistic skill. Oh, okay. Yeah, the voice of command gives +1 ballistic. That's what I'm saying. If you could give that out to more than 1 tank, like say 3 tanks, then and you've got 3 battle cannons, that could be pretty good. Half decent for Terminators, maybe a way to get extra CP. Harley, maybe a tank commander gives an extra AP to them. Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. I mean, there is, what was the officers? Is there an extra way of getting extra AP? There's a way of improving save, improve attacks for rapid fire weapons, ballistic skill, weapon skill. So, as far as we know, this might just be for the regiment based stuff, but as far as we know, these are I wonder if tanks might have different orders or different ways of giving out AP. There might be paid upgrades, or maybe they won't because they want this edition to be less killy. So, you know, maybe that is just what it is. And when it shoots at, I mean, let's say you're shooting at Terminators, you get say 6 or 7 shots, you'll hit 3 or 4 times, you'll wound on 2s, so you're probably wounding like say 3 times. AP 1, so you got a 3-up save, so you're killing 1 Terminator on average. I mean, without any buffs, you're killing 1 Terminator. So interesting if that's what they want, sort of like battle cannons to be doing, is killing one Terminator, maybe 2 Marines. Flat 3 damage on the battle cannon is poor for only -1 AP. Yeah, I mean the damage is nice, flat 3, but it's just the AP1. For a battle cannon, I don't know, I was just expecting AP2. I mean, if you're hitting on 4s, AP2 at strength 10. I mean, strength 10 is not exactly ripping through Land Raiders, is it? This is an elite killer, really, and the elites have pretty good armor, like Terminators. I'm assuming Custodes will have 2-up save, so yeah, it'll be an interesting one. And if they're in cover, they still get cover against that. So in cover, they're getting a 2-up save against the battle cannon. Maybe we won't be killing anything. However, we haven't seen a lot of the army-wide rules. Obviously, we've seen the orders. Is there? There isn't. We haven't seen a detachment for a rule for these, like the command protocol detachment rule and the oath of moment detachment rule. There's anyone seen a detachment rule anywhere? Because that's interesting. Their detachment rule might be like an extra AP on all guns. I mean, it's guard, so you never know. That would be huge. An extra AP or something like along those lines, or +1 to hit for your entire army. So they're all hitting on 3s, which wouldn't surprise me with guard. Autocannons on the Chaos Space... Any given Sunday. Autocannons on the Chaos Space Marines is the same profile, just strength 9, and he's heavy, so a lot better ballistic skill. Okay, so yeah. Because it's not heavy. That's what I mean. If they've made it heavy, so it's hitting on 3s if you remain stationary, you're like, okay. Although, again, this is only the gun profile, so we don't know what special abilities are on the data sheet for the Lehman Russ. It could be that turret weapons, like 9th edition, get +1 to hit, which wouldn't surprise me at all, which does make it a lot better. And then there is ways of getting an extra AP, which suddenly that becomes a lot better. But yeah, great little review for the Astra Militarum, little faction focus. I think so far that Volcano Cannon is the big talking point because of the damage 12. I mean, strength 24 -5, damage 12, that's going to eat through stuff. And where this edition is less killy, I think people are going to want stuff like that in their army. So you might be seeing some shadow swords flying about. But yeah, this is where I'm going to leave the stream, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking through some of the factions. I'm going to come back. So I'm hoping to do streams 3 PM on Mondays and Wednesdays, and maybe the odd Friday as well, depending on what's going on in life. But yeah, Mondays and Fridays, hoping to do that. Yes, Harley, that is going to destroy tanks, 100%. I'm interested to see what sort of durability a lot of the tanks have, like the Craftworld tanks and the Necron tanks and that sort of thing. I want to see. I mean, you look at that strength 24, that's wounding monoliths on a 3, not getting a save, and 12 damage. 2 shots through on a monolith and the monolith's dead. I mean, that's pretty hefty. See you in the next one, Trutavian. So thanks a lot, guys, and I will speak to you soon.